Hi, my name is Sarah and I'm the mom of Justin Bieber the talking cat, and today we're going to talk about adding new words to the board. We're going to talk about what words to add next, how to know when you're ready for a new word, and tips and tricks for introducing new buttons. First of all, I want to say thank you for your patience because I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a new video. Life has been busy. I work full-time in addition to making these videos. I moved recently, and I think one of my favorite updates is that I have been fostering a litter of kittens. This is Finn, Jake, and Marceline. I really need someone to take them off my hands or I'm gonna be the owner of 4 cats in my next video, so if you are in the Los Angeles area. Speaking of upcoming videos, I have a lot more content planned and I'm definitely making it a priority to publish videos more regularly again, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss when I upload a new video. I also wanted to take a minute to say thank you. The responses on my training videos have been so incredibly kind. I'm so happy to hear how many of you I have helped and inspired, and it really makes the whole thing feel worth it, so thank you. Anyway, enough talking, let's get into it. Somebody's a little jealous.
Yes, you're the original baby.
So if you're here, I'm going to assume your pet is already pressing their first few buttons and you're wondering about next steps. If that's not you, go watch my intro video on how I taught my cat to talk, because I'm going to assume you already know the basics. So when you're starting out and you only have a few words on the board, each word feels like gold. If you're like me, there are probably a million things you wish your pet could communicate, and it can feel overwhelming. One thing that can really help is to sit down and make a list of all the words you'd like to teach, and then prioritize that list. That way, you can add new words according to need. Think about things your pet already asks for based on their body language. High priority words might be things like walk, potty, food, or water. Just keep in mind that the food button can be really overwhelming for some pets, so make sure you're keeping their personality in mind before adding that one. Other great starting points are naming specific toys, so assuming your pet already has the play button, you can introduce choices with things like play frisbee or play ball. Think about things your pet likes but might not necessarily be able to ask for. Maybe your pet goes wild for ice cubes or really enjoys puzzle toys, but they're not part of your daily routine, so your pet can't communicate that in the same way that they might whine for dinner. Think about all the things you offer your pet when you're trying to appease them and you don't know what they want. Do you want feather toy? Do you want a cuddle? Do you want the window open? Those are all great options to add. A final thing to keep in mind is that early on in this process, you want to choose words that are easy to model. If your pet asks for an ice cube, you can give them an ice cube, but if they ask for snow and it's the middle of July, that's a different story. Personally, at least in the beginning, I would recommend deprioritizing words that you aren't easily able to model for your pet. I would say the same thing about more nebulous words that deal with concepts like time or emotions. These are really fun and interesting concepts to work with, but like I said in the beginning, when every word is gold, keep it simple, keep it accessible, and keep it concrete. So once your pet is using their existing buttons to make requests, you can go ahead and add any new words directly to the soundboard. I like to wait until I have Justin's attention to do this, and if at all possible, I like to wait until the context of the button that I'm introducing matches the situation. For example, if you're introducing the word settle, which a lot of people use to mean go lie down or let's calm down, you want to wait to introduce it when your pet is already calm and laying in their bed. It really helps if the concept you're introducing is already fresh in your pet's mind and you can model it clearly right away. I find that Justin is really curious when I add new words, and he usually presses them right away to see what they do. That's why in the beginning, it's nice to pick words that you can easily offer or demonstrate. Another helpful tip is to add new words in pairs. It's not always necessary, but it can really help to introduce new words in contrasting pairs. An example of a contrasting pair would be something like upstairs and downstairs, or mom and dad. If you show your pet a tennis ball and say, this is a tennis ball, there are so many ways your pet could interpret that. They could think it means play, or any toy at all, or any small object. But if you say, this is a ball and this is a frisbee, you're narrowing the scope of what you mean, and you're giving your pet more clues to understand what you're saying. Like I talked about in my video on teaching emotions, it really helps to teach new buttons using words your pet already knows. For example, if I was adding the word feather toy, I could say play feather toy when I play with my cat, and then when I put the toy away, I could say feather toy all done. Context, contrast, and building off words your pet already knows are great ways to introduce new words. When you're expanding your board, you want to find the balance between keeping your pet engaged and avoiding overwhelming them. If you wait too long to add new words, you might find that your pet starts to lose interest in the board. But if you move too quickly, you run the risk of overwhelming them and losing progress. The most important thing to keep in mind here is to go at the pace of your learner. I like to wait until I feel like Justin has a handle on the majority of his board until I add new buttons, and that can vary from weeks to months depending on what I've added recently. If I feel like Justin picks up a new word quickly and is using it in the correct context, I feel comfortable moving forward. But if I add something that seems to stump him and he seems confused, I'll pause there until I feel like he has a better handle on it. That being said, you don't need to feel like your pet has mastered every single word before moving forward. There are words that can take a long time to learn, or words that your pet might never understand. Plus, like I said, adding new words is a great way to keep the board fun and engaging for your pet, and it can encourage experimentation. Again, I just like to feel like Justin has a grasp on the majority of his board at all times. So sometimes you're going to be adding new words based on your list or your plan, but other times if you pay attention, your pet might be telling you that they need a new word. People often realize this when their pet starts making strange combinations. Pets might say things like food ball in reference to a ball-shaped puzzle toy. That would be a great time to introduce the word puzzle. It can definitely require some abstract thinking sometimes, and I think this subject deserves its own video later. But for now I'll say, if your pet is saying something confusing, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're confused by the board. Sometimes they need another word for clarity. The best way to figure this out is repetition. If your pet keeps pressing a combination of words that you don't understand, pay attention. Pay attention to the time of day that they're using it, what's going on in the house, the weather. Your pet might be wanting another word and isn't sure how to tell you. Another tip is to expand around favorite words. When I added a window button for Justin and saw how much he was using it, it made me think about how much time he spends sitting at the window and what he sees. I started focusing on words to describe that experience, words like look and smell and of course bird. It can be helpful to think about the world from your pet's point of view. Where do they spend the most time? What's important to them? What do you think they're trying to say? Sometimes our pets surprise us by ignoring a word we thought they'd use. For example, I added the word bed and couch at the same time because they're both locations in the house where Justin spends a lot of time with me. But while Justin ended up pressing bed all the time, he almost never uses couch. If you have the space and the resources, it's fine to just leave the button there. Your pet could definitely end up using it down the road. But if it's been months and your pet is still not using the button even after consistent modeling, it's also okay to remove it and repurpose it. So those are my thoughts on introducing new words. I hope it was helpful, and above all, I want you to listen to your pet. I give you permission to throw out any advice that doesn't apply to you and focus on whatever you think is most enriching for your pet. This is a learning process, and we're all learning together here. There are no final answers. So go forth, have fun, and have happy conversations with your pet. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like this video or if you have questions, I'd love it if you could leave a comment down below. I try to help as many people as I can. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos, and until next time, bye!